One Piece chapter 1140 is here. We have an amazing fight that is way shorter and way more funny than I expected. We have new characters that I'm super excited for the potential for. It's a setup chapter, but it's one of the most engaging and exciting setup chapters in my opinion. So we start off with right where we left off, thankfully. With Oda, you never know. But we start off with Scopper Gaban continuing to egg Luffy on. Come on, come get the key. Fight me for it. And Luffy's like, why would I do that? Just give me the key. And then Scopper just kind of eggs him on a little bit, and Luffy's like, all right, so here I come. Here I am. I'm ready to fight for the key. My opinion on this was always that I wanted to see a competition. I didn't want Luffy to just level him. I didn't want him to just level Luffy. I wanted to see two really significant powers face off. I wanted to see what Scopper was capable of. And I feel that we got that here. We got funny dialogue. We got great evasion. We got to see Scopper's power, as well as I've got other things to be dealing with right now. So Luffy comes to just take the key, and he just is dodging Luffy left and right, showing how unbelievably fast he is, as well as how strong he is. I loved the panels when he lifts the key up in the air, and it's clear that he's gonna hit Luffy in the head with it, and you can see in advance the hockey getting coating the key. You can see it like starting from the back and coating the key forward. And even Luffy, he goes hockey, and then you turn the page and it's just bash right over his head. And then you see Luffy hop up too. I'm so excited to watch this in the anime. And then Luffy's continuing to try to grab the key. Scopper is continuing to dodge him. And then he ends up shoving the key in Luffy's mouth and transforming the shape of his head because of it. I love these lines when he's saying, you're only holding on to it? He didn't give it to you? The cheapskate. And Luffy goes, no, dummy. That's not what it means. Don't call Shanks a cheapskate, talking about the hat. You have no idea about him. So not only is Scopper dodging every move, not only is he egging him on by clearly knowing what the hat is, what the context is. Obviously, we do also see a flashback later on, but even before we see the flashback of him talking to Shanks, it's clear that he identifies the hat, knows what it's about, and he's messing with Luffy, and he's just kind of playing with him. Oh wow, you're only holding on to it? Interesting. He's a cheapskate. You know, insulting Shanks, playing with the kid. So Luffy's getting beat over the head with a key. He's getting mocked, and then when you turn the page and he pulls his axes out and he goes after Luffy, even Zoro realizes, hold on, this is some power, and he has to step in. And you know what, maybe it was a little bit outmatched. I was saying that it didn't feel like one was leveling the other, but I don't know. Even Zoro was concerned and felt like he needed to step in on this fight, which typically he lets Luffy do his thing unless he needs to be there, and he seemed to feel like he needed to be there. I love how quick this fight was and how lighthearted it was. You know, it was just fun to watch. The use of paneling, the use of giving us just enough information, then you turn the page and it's hilarious. The way Oda wrote this out was such a fun fight, but at the same time, even though it was short and even though it was lighthearted, you feel the full weight of how powerful this guy still is. You know, he may not be in his prime anymore, but he is not washed up. I assume because of the fight, they ended up actually knocking some of this old, dilapidated castle, knocking one of its towers off of the castle itself. So I mean, this is a powerful fight that we're witnessing happen, and I love this panel where Zoro has his three swords out, and then Luffy and Gear 5th comes up behind him, and they're teaming up, the two of them side by side. Oh, I love that panel so much. And Scopper even says, indeed, all in white. So I assume he knows about Sun God Nika, and this is him finally seeing Sun God Nika for the first time and going, aha, just like I thought he would be, all in white. I'm finally seeing it. You know, like the significance of this moment isn't lost on him. Luffy even has one of his axes. It's just such a great panel. And I feel that his response to it is exactly what it should be. You know, like he's appreciating this moment. probably even more than we are, because he understands the context and the weight of what he's witnessing, whereas we are just looking at goofy Gear 5th Luffy. Anyway, the two advance on him. They're ready to take him down together, 2-on-1, and he just drops the key. I'm sorry, drops the axes. Oh, Luffy doesn't have one of his axes. I guess he picked that up off the wall somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, Scopper just drops his axes and he's just like, I yield. It's such a funny conclusion to this fight. He's so powerful. He's so powerful that Zoro felt the need to team up and tip the scales in what was a 1 versus 1. That's how powerful he is. And then it ends with him just being like, all right, I've done it. I've done the job. I tested you. I know what you're about. And I do think that the testing was more than just, are you going to be responsible with this key? Or are you powerful enough that if freeing Loki doesn't go well for you, that you can rechain him? I think it was more than that. I think he wanted to see Sun God Nika. I think he knew who Luffy, I mean, it's clear, he knew who Luffy was. And there was, maybe he just wanted to see him in action. You know, maybe he just wanted to play with him a bit because he knows the significance of who Luffy is more than any of us do. But at the same time, he's not trying to beat them up. He's not trying to get beat up. He's not trying to continue on with this fight. He had his agenda, but he came here because he sensed a really strong presence. He came here because of feeling that the celestial dragons had arrived, and assumedly he wants to protect the land where he lives and he's made his home and where his family is. So ultimately, he's not trying to stick around here and have a big long fight. He has another goal. He came to this castle for a different reason, which is also exciting because when I first read this chapter and he, you know, turned around and he was like, all right, well, I'm leaving now. So come see me after, let's see, he said, if Elbaf is still intact by the time you're leaving this island, come and see me again. Which is kind of a promise to the reader that he has some sort of lore that he's going to give us at the end of the arc, which is great. I'm excited because Scopper has completely won me over and I can't wait for the exposition dump that he's going to deliver us. I'll take it. I want the lore drop from him specifically. But also the fact that he arrived at this castle to investigate some sort of possible threat in sensing the celestial dragons has me thinking that it may not be that we're only going to see him at the end of this arc. It may be that we're actually going to see him in action when the conflict arises, when the Straw Hats step in and face off against the celestial dragons, try to oppose what they're trying to do, kidnapping children at this point, that Scopper will be there too. And we're actually going to see him in action on a far greater level. We're going to see him in action when he actually wants to defeat his opponent. He's not just playing with them. I could be wrong about that, but the fact that he arrived to investigate a threat, and the threat has not disappeared, makes me think that when we're facing the threat, he might be there too. I do love their response to him when he's like, come see me at the end of this arc. And they're like, why would we do that? I don't want to see you again. I'm not interested in you. Go away, old man. You're making me mad. And then we get this amazing flashback, very, very short. And that's of Shanks going ahead of Luffy once again. What makes you think I'm going to trust this guy? So he wanted Scopper to trust him. He went ahead and told him, hey, when Luffy gets here, you can trust that kid, right? And he leaves it, you know, when he gets a little pushback, he's like, all right, fine, you know, you do what you want to do. But we see this so often with Shanks. So often. We've seen this a couple times with Shanks. He's going ahead. He has a greater plan. He knows more than we do. And he's preparing the way for Luffy. Anyway, the kids see Gunko's plane, bird, in their eyes, where Gunko, Bring, and Shamrock go back to the Sun Realm. Turns out Gunko can summon can create the summoning circle. So I thought previously that only the elders could, and that the elders created it and then transported them, but apparently seemingly any of there are a number of people that can create them. So they summon another celestial dragon, and in fact they get two. We have Saint Somers and Saint Killingham. Now let me tell you, I love Saint Killingham because first of all, he looks like a dragon. I understand now that he's not, but he looks like a dragon upon first appearance. He's on his way. He's running to go somewhere. I'm in big trouble. I'm late. I'm very late. So we could see him mid-rush on a mission. And, you know, we have the Celestial Dragon helmet, we have a little gas mask. I assume because the helmet isn't big enough, so they had to do an extension of the helmet. That's what it looks like to me. I love his design. I love his name. Killingham is an amazing name, and my patrons have informed me that he's more than likely a Karen? Not that, which I've done minimal research on now. There is a Chinese version and a Japanese version. So whichever one Oda is going with, this is a creature that is known to be a wise and benevolent leader, but also a pacifist. This is a gentle animal, never eats the flesh of other beings, never even, while it's walking, it's careful not to step on an insect, not even to so much as break a blade of grass. They're some of the rarest, most powerful creatures in all of East Asia, and they're typically found in noble and enlightened, in the reigns of noble and enlightened rulers. Now enlightened, I don't know, but noble, I mean, I guess Emu could count, but the point is that being a celestial dragon, while it doesn't make sense on the surface, the fact that they're found around these noble and enlightened areas, you can kind of see how how Killingham might have found itself just attracted to the highest levels of nobility, or potentially captured. If Oda is going to use this myth very closely, very true to its source material, to the lore, I could definitely see it being a very pacifistic creature that has been either blackmailed or enslaved to be in the service of Emu, or the elders more directly. But maybe there could be some resistance here. Oda has a lot of opportunity for comedic effect with this character. If he's instructed to go somewhere and then the whole time he's tiptoeing and going, oh, I'm sorry, grass. Oh no, oh, I think I hit an ant. Oh my goodness. You know, this could end up being this very majestic, beautiful, powerful creature that can wreak all kinds of havoc with its incredible power, and we can see that on display, but then it's also very timid and you know, bashful about accidentally, but I don't want to hurt anyone. But part of the lore is that this creature would never hurt good and pure souls. Now, we can look at that from the perspective of Luffy, but we can also look at that from the perspective of what's the goal right now? What's Killingham about to be tasked, or is currently being tasked to do? Kidnap children and bring them back to the Holy Land, which is so antithetical to what this creature's lore would have it do. So to actually kidnap children, stuff them in bags, which is what Summers wants to do, and bring them back to a place that would use them as bargaining chips and, I don't know, probably throw them in cages and starve them or something. This is not what the lore around this creature would want to do. So there could also be a lot of resistance here, or Oda could go in a completely different direction, but just going off of what we know, of assuming that this is, you know, actually this creature, then there's a lot of opportunity for Oda to have some resistance in this task force, or to have some comedic effect, as well as some very, very strong power. We'll just have to see what Oda does with it. We also, on Summers, we see the tattoo that is very likely the brand that allows them to be able to use the powers of the summoning circle. So I assume that this brand is not just given to any celestial dragon born. I think it seems unnecessary to brand, and I say this because of Shanks, seems unnecessary to just brand any child that's born into celestial dragons. Here you go, you get your summoning circle marking. Because why would Emu want the celestial dragons that are just around? You're just around, think yourselves as gods, go ahead, but you have no actual power. You have no actual jurisdiction. You know, you're not going to do anything in the world. You're just going to eat and, you know, play with human lives. I don't see why Emu would give that kind of power to your average celestial dragon. So to me, my assumption is that this brand is given to the higher ups, to those once you enter a certain level of service in the world government underneath the elders, that's when you get your branding. That's my assumption. So I doubt Shanks has it or ever had it. Who's to say? But That's my assumption. Anyway, Shamrock is called back to the Holy Land. Apparently there's a task or there's something that needs done. The situation with the Holy Knights is rather dire. It's all wrong ever since the reverie. Your presence there will be a benefit to Shamrock. So I do wonder, since Garland was promoted to Elder, I wonder if Shamrock is then going to take Garland's position, and that's why specifically Shamrock needs to be there, because that's a position that needs filled and they might be giving it to Shamrock. Something that one of my patrons pointed out, and I thought that this was brilliant, is taking note of the fact that when they arrived, they asked Shamrock, what are you even doing in this country? Are you paying Harold's grave a visit? Which initially when I read it, I just thought, okay, throwaway line, you're just making a guess. Stab in the dark. What can you possibly be doing here? Paying this grave a visit? But my patron pointed out, why would that even come into their mind unless there would be an actual reason for paying this grave a visit? Why would you pay a grave a visit outside of offering some sort of respect if this person isn't and wasn't an ally? Now, I've been suspicious of Harold from the drop. Like, I do not think Harold was good. I don't have high hopes for his character. I don't think that he was actually this peaceable, wonderful king ruler that, you know, the common people say that he was. I think Loki had a reason for trying to finish him off. The fact that it would come into Summer's mind that we could visit his grave makes me think that maybe there was some sort of alliance there. There was something already in the works that Loki disrupted, and now they're here to take it by force when their plan with Harold couldn't be completed. So Summers is concerned that he doesn't have a big enough sack to stuff children in. Killingham is just falling asleep. I guess he's a narcoleptic as well. I don't know. I'm just loving this character so much. I love the design. I love the potential of what Oda could do with him. I love that he just randomly falls asleep mid-sentence. I'm very happy with this character. But also, Shanks says, with your powers, you can make it into a game. So we know that these are incredibly powerful people naturally, and it doesn't matter if you're not equipped, if you weren't prepared, if you don't have all the tools that you could want. You can play with this. Like, you can make this into a game. And again, my patrons pointed out, this could be a God Valley situation. Like, we could be talking about hunting people for sport. Probably not actually that, because we're kidnapping them, not hunting them. But the point is, they kind of have this ruthless nature about them, which does go against everything that I've said that I might expect from Killingham, but I definitely think that we're about to enter into some action and probably some dark. There's going to be some dark stuff happening in the next chapters, potentially. We also know that the Abyss pentagrams, which is what they've been using, we now have a name for them, that you can't travel through the Abyss without that marking. So that means that they have to take the children back, probably through Gunko's plane. This is just an interesting piece of lore, just to know that these can't even be utilized by anyone else. So the Straw Hats are not going to be able to go to the one that's in the castle and just transport to the Holy Land. That can't happen. And just getting a name for these summoning circles now is just really interesting and has a lot of implications in and of itself. Anyway, I have a new favorite character. I'm team Killingham. I think he's going to be an amazing addition to this story. I am so excited for the chapters, and I'm excited to see how they hunt children. I regret that sentence. This was a great chapter. This was a setup chapter, and it was so fun, and it gave us so much to be able to speculate on and guess at what's going to happen, and it's not a break week, so I don't have to speculate for very long. Please do chat with me more in the comments. Let me know what I missed, what you thought of that I didn't think of, what you object to that I said. Please do chat with me more. I would love to continue to discuss this chapter in the comments. I'll see you again soon. Bye.